Everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. I want to talk a little bit this week about the topic of lockout tagout, lotto, or as my good buddy Rhett Carpenter said in a meeting the other day, latoto, lockout, tagout, tryout. The tryout piece being kind of a verification thing. But first off, uh, maybe a definition of lockout tagout. So lockout tagout is identified as a critical safety procedure used in industrial settings to ensure that machines are properly shut down and cannot start up during maintenance or repairs. I think we mostly know that. It involves isolating energy sources, applying physical locks, and placing tags to prevent injuries or fatalities. So as we know, lockout tagout can be used to control any number of energy sources, which could be pneumatic, could be hydraulic, could be electricity, or could be something mechanical, a machine, a flywheel, a lathe, could be almost anything. And ultimately, we want to control that energy source. So we want to be able to make sure that we've shut that energy source down. We have the ability to lock it so nobody can inadvertently turn it back on. And then the tags identify who has locked and tagged that machine out and why. So ultimately, the process seems fundamentally simple. The reality is not necessarily simple. And I want to focus a little bit about, or on lockout, tag out in a multi-employer workplace. This is where I've seen a trend of issues related to, kind of who owns the lockout, tag out process. But ultimately, as I mentioned, that latoto, the tryout piece is a piece that when I read fatality narratives and accident summaries of lockout, tagout failures, oftentimes the failure has to do with verification issues, meaning the people locked the device or the system out, they tagged it out, but they didn't verify that their effort was successful. They went to perform maintenance or repairs, energy was released, and it resulted in injury or death. And that has not been an uncommon theme over the years. And being able to verify the process. And one of the reasons when we build our programs and we create lockout tagout procedures, we are able to identify specifically how we are able to isolate that energy source. That's really important. When we look at a multi-employer workplace, whether it's an outage, whether I know we deal with wind turbines that are being decommissioned and and being retrofitted with new parts, being upgraded, right? Repowering work. And we run in these situations where somebody owns the control of that energy. And that somebody might be an owner operator, it might be an independent service provider, whatever it might be. And if you've done outage work in a paper mill or refinery, you know that generally the lockout tagout process is owned by the owner. Comments I've heard recently consistently are that, well, the owner's responsible for lockout tagout. They lock out the energy source, they tag it, they notify us that it has been isolated, basically, or de-energized. And then I hear there was an incident because it wasn't actually isolated, it was a miscommunication. And one of the things that I like to emphasize is that yes, the owner may be responsible for lockout, tagout. They may be in control of those energy sources, but every single contractor working on that system, on that machine, whatever it might be, even though it's been locked and tagged and that is being controlled by somebody else, they should put their own locks, lockbox potentially, and tags on it to verify that somebody's not going to come along, remove the owner's lock and tag, and re-energize that system while maintenance is being conducted on it. So that is a step in the process that I've seen as a consistent issue, is that one entity is relying on another entity to perform that, but they're not putting their protocols in place to make sure that something doesn't change in the duration of their work that they're being performed. So think about that. The owner may push back and say, look, we control that. You don't apply your locks and tags. If I'm a contractor, I'm pushing back hard on that, saying, wait a minute, if my people are working on it, you can lock and tag it. You got control, but we're going to add our locks and tags so it can't be inadvertently re-energize while we're working on it. So something to think about. It's a challenge that's outside of our normal control, but it's a challenge that can result in serious injury and death. And it's really important that we think about that, that we embrace it, that we educate our employees on it so that they're aware of it, and we take the necessary steps to make sure that that equipment is actually de-energized. And as I mentioned, we have to test it, we have to verify it, we have to try it out, make darn sure there's no energy released. I know a good example is a valve on a pneumatic system or hydraulic system has been turned off, a lock has been applied, a lockbox and tags have been attached to it, but nobody released the energy in the line between that valve and wherever it's headed in the machine or the system you're working on. You go to work on that machine, all that energy is stored up and boom, it's released. So trying out or verifying is a really critical or key step too. So, kind of the moral of this What's Up Wednesday is one, make sure your teams verify de-energization, that there's no energy stored after lockout tagout. And two, even if they don't own lockout tagout, make sure that you have protocols in place to make sure that it doesn't get re-energized while you're working on it. Hopefully that's helpful. Love some comments on this. I know this is a topic that people deal with all the time. Could be some controversy behind it. We'd love to hear your comments. Hopefully that helps. We'll see you next Wednesday.